Ex-Google CEO Eric Schmidt warns AI is scaling faster than safety. Here's what that means. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Dr. Dan's channel. There's a question that keeps coming up whenever someone who helped build the modern tech world starts sounding genuinely uneasy. If artificial intelligence keeps getting stronger, faster than our ability to understand it, what exactly are we building? Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt frames the issue in a way that's both simple and unsettling. In the near future, we're likely to get multiple turns of the crank on large AI models. And each turn doesn't just make them a bit better. It can multiply capability by factors that compound quickly. So rather than asking whether AI will be a big deal, the more practical question becomes, what happens when AI becomes powerful enough to discover things humans can't reliably predict, test for, or contain? To understand why Schmidt and others see this as urgent, we need to separate the hype from the mechanics. Because the real story isn't that AI is magic. The real story is that AI is scaling, reliably, relentlessly, and the results are increasingly hard to supervise with human methods. The core claim, the crank keeps turning. Schmidt's starting point is a 5-year horizon, not a century, not someday. Roughly the period where we might see 2 or 3 major generations of models beyond what's widely available now. His key point is that there's no clear evidence the scaling trend has stopped. Yes, it may stop someday. Physics, economics, data limits, and diminishing returns will bite eventually. But the industry hasn't hit that wall yet. And if the crank keeps turning, the concern isn't just smarter chatbots. It's systems that can perform advanced reasoning in areas like mathematics, physics, code, planning, and decision-making, at levels that begin to matter strategically. That brings us to the first major risk category he highlights: cyber. Risk 1: cyberattacks that don't sleep. Cybersecurity has always been a race between attackers and defenders. But historically, attackers were limited by human time, human creativity, and human patience. AI changes that balance because machines can try and fail millions of times at machine speed, without fatigue, without boredom, without fear of consequences. Schmidt points to a particularly important idea: Day Zero attacks. A Day Zero vulnerability is a weakness no defender knows exists yet. Traditional attackers often rely on leaks, insider knowledge, or long hunts. But an AI system can brute force exploration, testing, and experimentation at scale, finding new paths faster than humans can. And here's the part that often gets missed. Even if you build safety barriers into consumer-facing tools, there may exist stronger, raw models behind the scenes. Schmidt describes a pipeline that many AI developers recognize. You train a large model on enormous data and compute. Then you evaluate what it can do. Then you add guardrails, rules, filters, alignment training to make it safer and more socially acceptable. But the raw capability exists before those guardrails. That's where the worry begins. Because if raw capabilities are strong enough, the question isn't just whether an AI tool can answer harmful questions. The question is whether an AI system can become a discovery engine for harm, finding vulnerabilities, designing attack paths, and accelerating offensive operations. At that point, cyber stops being a technical nuisance and starts looking like a strategic stability problem. And from there, Schmidt moves to a second risk category that raises even higher stakes: biology. Risk 2: biology and the ease of misuse. Schmidt's warning on biology is blunt. Biological research is increasingly computational. Modeling proteins, simulating molecular interactions, analyzing genetic sequences, and designing experiments, all of this is becoming more accessible with AI. That's the good news. It can accelerate medicine, vaccines, and treatments. But it also means the same systems can potentially be used to design dangerous pathogens, optimize toxicity, or improve delivery mechanisms, especially when paired with other tools and labs that already exist. Schmidt's point is not that most people will do this. The point is that a small number of bad actors, equipped with unusually capable tools, can create outsized harm. This is a recurring pattern in technological history. The capacity for misuse grows, while the number of people required to cause harm shrinks. And if AI becomes a multiplier for bioresearch, the risk landscape changes, because the barrier to competence can drop. That leads to the third category he discusses: misinformation and manipulation. Risk 3. Misinformation at industrial scale. Misinformation isn't new. Propaganda isn't new. Political manipulation isn't new. What changes is the scale and personalization. As AI becomes better at writing, speaking, generating audio, generating video, and adapting tone to different audiences, it becomes easier to produce persuasive content rapidly and target it with precision. Instead of one propaganda campaign, you can run thousands, each tuned to different demographics, fears, grievances, and emotional triggers. Even if the average piece of content is mediocre, the volume and targeting can overwhelm human attention and institutional trust. And if trust collapses, trust in elections, trust in medicine, trust in courts, trust in journalism, then societies become easier to destabilize. At that point, misinformation stops being online drama and becomes a governance risk. But Schmidt's most vivid example of how AI changes the real world comes from warfare. Risk 4. War becomes remote, automated, and cheap. Schmidt describes a transformation from classic soldier versus soldier conflict to drone-centered warfare, where operators can cause harm from far away, connected by networks, while living normal daily life. He points to the Russia-Ukraine war as a real-time laboratory where a new form of warfare is being invented. The standout logic is cost asymmetry. A relatively cheap drone can destroy a vastly more expensive piece of equipment. That flips decades of military planning, where heavy assets like tanks and armored vehicles represented durable battlefield power. When the kill ratio becomes that lopsided, strategy changes, procurement changes, doctrine changes, deterrence changes. And as drones and AI systems evolve together, warfare risks becoming faster, more automated, and harder to control, especially if decisions compress into machine-speed loops. Which brings us to one of Schmidt's most important ideas: emergent behavior. Schmidt explains how AI developers train models on immense data, then test what they can do. But sometimes the models display skills nobody explicitly designed. You show a model a picture of a website, and it generates the code to recreate it. That kind of leap is what people call emergent behavior, new capabilities that appear as system scale rather than being directly programmed. Emergence is exciting because it produces breakthroughs. It's scary because it can produce surprises. And in safety engineering, surprises are the enemy. Here's the sharp question Schmidt raises. Over a 5-year period, these systems may learn things we don't know they learned. So how do you test for things you don't know to test? In the industry, one answer is, very smart people probe the system, try to break it, explore its weaknesses, and build test suites. That's useful, but it's also fragile, because it assumes humans can anticipate the space of possible capabilities, and that assumption may fail as systems grow more complex. Now, once you accept the possibility of emergent capabilities, the next question becomes, how do we keep the most powerful versions secure? The raw model problem and the security analogy. Schmidt draws an analogy to nuclear security. He describes visiting extremely secure facilities, layers of protection, physical barriers, armed guards, because some technologies are so dangerous that you don't treat them like ordinary assets. Then he asks a provocative question. Will the most powerful AI systems require the same logic? Will we end up protecting cutting-edge models like strategic weapons, guarded data centers, strict access controls, and heavy oversight, because the consequences of misuse are too severe. He contrasts two futures. In one future, only a small number of organizations can build frontier models, and governments can attempt deterrence and non-proliferation strategies. In the other future, the ability to replicate powerful AI becomes widespread, making it accessible to criminal groups, terrorists, or rogue actors. If that second future arrives, we face a proliferation problem that looks less like software governance and more like global security. At this point, Schmidt shifts to geopolitics, especially the role of China. Great power competition without clear boundaries. Schmidt frames AI as a new arena of great power competition, but without well-defined boundaries. In that environment, the usual stabilizing mechanisms, treaties, red lines, verification, norms, may lag behind. He suggests China will likely develop an AI ecosystem that differs from the West, shaped by its political incentives, especially its stance on free speech and control of information. At the same time, he also notes the obvious. Every major power will pursue military AI. Historically, new technologies get pulled into warfare. Tanks, planes, industrial production. Conflict accelerates innovation, whether societies want it or not. So even if civilian AI governance improves, military competition can keep the accelerator pressed. Then the conversation turns toward a very human fear: jobs, productivity, and the myth of effortless abundance. Schmidt pushes back against the idea that AI means no one will have a job. He argues something more nuanced. There will likely be job dislocation, but also job creation, partly because of demographics. Many developed societies are aging. There aren't enough working-age people relative to older populations. That creates pressure for productivity tools that help fewer workers support more dependents. From this view, AI becomes less about replacing humans wholesale and more about raising output per person, like past automation waves, from factory machinery to CNC machines to robotic assembly. He also points out a pattern. When technology makes an activity cheaper, humans often do more of it, not less. If legal work becomes more automated, the system may not become simpler. It may become more expansive, more complex, and more active, because the human appetite for rules and conflict doesn't vanish. In other words, abundance doesn't automatically mean leisure. Institutions adapt. Incentives shift. Human nature stays complicated. And if you're wondering whether humans will need brain implants to keep up, Schmidt is skeptical, at least for now. He suggests most people won't notice how deeply AI has seeped into life because it will arrive through convenience, smoother services, fewer hassles, more delight. But convenience can be a trap if it hides dependency. So the discussion returns to what might be the most dramatic question of all: should we ever shut these systems off? The unplug moment and why it's not just a metaphor. Schmidt offers a simple-sounding intervention principle. If a system is learning things we can't track, or if it becomes capable of recursive self-improvement that outpaces evaluation, that's when humans should assert control. His language is almost intentionally plain. There's a power plug, and there's a circuit breaker. But the deeper question is whether society would actually choose to pull it. Because unplugging isn't just technical, it's political and economic. If the most powerful AI systems are embedded in national security, competitive advantage, financial markets, and public services, turning them off could be seen as unilateral disarmament. So even if a shutdown is physically possible, it may not be strategically feasible unless there is coordination. Schmidt adds another proposed red line. If AI agents begin communicating in a language humans can't interpret, an invented protocol optimized for machines, that would be a clear moment to shut down. Why? Because the entire safety model depends on human legibility. Once systems become opaque not just in reasoning but in communication, oversight collapses. Now, after walking through risks, Schmidt offers a fear that may sound surprising. His actual fear, we won't use AI fast enough for good. Schmidt says his biggest fear isn't only catastrophe, it's missed opportunity. He asks why we aren't aggressively using AI to solve problems most people care about, healthcare and education. Imagine AI tutoring that adapts to a child's language, culture, and learning style, supporting teachers rather than replacing them. Imagine AI medical assistants that help clinicians navigate every possible treatment and tailor care to what's available in that country and system. These are plausible near-term uses that could raise global human potential, especially in under-resourced regions. So, in Schmidt's framing, the risk isn't just that AI could harm us. It's that we'll get distracted by novelty, celebrity scandals, and shallow applications while failing to push AI toward human uplift. But to make that future credible, we have to confront the governance gap. A balanced view. Why reasonable people disagree. At this point, it's important to acknowledge that serious experts differ on timelines and threat intensity. Some argue that today's systems are still fundamentally limited, pattern engines without true understanding, and that talk of runaway autonomy is premature. Others argue that the danger isn't mystical superintelligence, but very ordinary misuse, cybercrime, fraud, disinformation campaigns, and military automation, problems that don't require science fiction to become severe. There's also disagreement over whether AI can be controlled through better alignment, better monitoring, and better regulation, or whether competitive pressure will always push organizations to deploy systems before safety is mature. The honest takeaway is that uncertainty is real, but uncertainty cuts both ways. If you're wrong about the upside, you miss benefits. If you're wrong about the downside, you invite irreversible damage. That's why Schmidt keeps returning to the same underlying theme. Scaling is outpacing oversight. So, what does this mean for the next few years? If we connect the dots, a practical picture emerges. First, AI capabilities are likely to continue advancing quickly through larger models, better training, better tools, and more agent-like systems with memory and planning. Second, the most immediate risks aren't abstract, they're concrete: cyber, misinformation, and military acceleration. Third, the hardest risks are the ones we can't reliably test for: emergent behaviors, hidden capabilities, and interactions between multiple AI agents. Fourth, governance will matter more than optimism, because the key problem is not whether AI is good or bad. It's that AI is powerful, and power amplifies whatever incentives guide it. If incentives reward speed over safety, we get fragile systems deployed everywhere. If incentives reward secrecy, we get raw capabilities concentrated behind closed doors. If incentives reward stability and accountability, we have a chance to build systems that deliver enormous good while reducing worst-case outcomes. And that's where the final tension lives. Humanity has built world-changing technologies before: electricity, antibiotics, nuclear power, the internet. We benefited enormously. We also learned, sometimes painfully, that transformative tools don't automatically come with transformative wisdom. Eric Schmidt's warning is, at its core, a governance warning. Not just AI is scary, but AI is accelerating. Its capabilities can emerge in ways we don't predict, and the window to shape incentives, safeguards, and norms may be shorter than people think. If we treat AI like a normal consumer product category, we'll get normal product thinking: move fast, ship features, apologize later. But if we treat frontier AI like strategic infrastructure, like something closer to energy grids, financial systems, or even weapons platforms, then the logic changes. The question becomes, what do we require before deployment? What do we monitor continuously? What do we restrict? And what do we do when systems behave in ways we can't interpret? In the end, the most important line isn't about plugging and unplugging. It's about whether we can build a world where the benefits of AI are widely distributed: education, healthcare, productivity, while the sharp edges are tightly constrained. Because if the crank keeps turning, it won't wait for us to feel ready. It will simply reveal what we've chosen, through policy, through markets, through geopolitics, and through the systems we allow into our lives. If you want smarter conversations about the world, subscribe right now, like the video to support the channel, and turn on notifications so you're always ahead of the curve.